Hi, I'm Pastor Patty, one of the Associate Directors at the Conference Office Youth Department, and I am super happy about hosting this afternoon's interview with Pastor Kevin Wilson. Pastor Kevin is the youth and young adult pastor at the Oceanside SDA Church in San Diego. His life journey, as well as his pastoral journey, has had a number of really interesting twists and turns that have landed him on social media platforms where he's known as cross-culture Christian. He's got about 14,000 followers on Instagram and close to 155,000 followers on TikTok. This kind of following officially makes him a social media influencer, but more importantly, it's given him a really unique opportunity to share Jesus through his presence on social media. Pastor Kevin, we just want to tell you that we are super happy that you've joined us today. Welcome to Junior High Bible Camp 2021. So let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and the world of cross-culture Christian and chai, and how that all works on Instagram and TikTok, and then also tell us about how this intersection of chai and social media has created an interest in what you're about and your rise to fame.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much, Pastor Patty and Pastor Aaron, everybody in SECC. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Hey, on the chat, just like shout them out. You know, let them know that that they're loved, that they are appreciated. I think it'll mean so much to them. But before I start, I just want to also give a quick shout out to all my EAA Escondido Adventist Academy. If you're from there, massive shout out to you. Oceanside Adventist Elementary School, OAE. That's where I teach. So shout out to you guys as well. So yeah, hashtag Team OAE, Team EAA, go for it. So really quick, I was born in a country called Sri Lanka. Lived in the Middle East in a country called Oman, did my high school there in the Middle East, and then I came to the States when I was 18 years old. And so all my life, I feel like I've just gone from one place to the next and experienced different cultures. And so, but the one thing that has been a constant throughout my life has just been my faith in Jesus. So that's where the name Cross Culture Christian comes from. And so that's kind of my brand or whatever you call it. So about tea, to give you a quick background, about a year ago, I made some Instagram stories on my tea making process, my chai making process, and I decided to stitch it all together and put it on TikTok. Now, at the time on TikTok, I had about 100 followers, and I wasn't even too serious about it. The only reason I was on it was because my youth were on it, so I wanted to just kind of check out what was going on. So I decided to put it. And then nothing happened for a couple of days. But then in the end of April, I went from about 200 followers to 11,500 followers in 1 week.
That's explosive, man.
Yeah. And it was crazy. And so it was because of the chai content. And so long story short, that was in April. Now, it's just crazy. I can't even imagine having like 155,000 people like listening to you, you know. But I decided to. I guess one of the reasons why people gravitated towards the content was because people wanted to hear stories, and they wanted to hear things that was meaningful. And I think in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of quarantine, people were just like they're wanting to see someone just making some tea. And I guess that's one of the reasons why this thing blew up. And so I'm grateful. I'm really grateful.
Well, your tea looks amazing. I've seen your videos and some of your recipes, and it just like is really cool that yes, in this pandemic, maybe we have more time to make ourselves some tea, and maybe people are just in love with chai these days, but your kind of chai is super special, I have to say that. So shout out to your chai. So tell us, Kevin, Pastor Kevin, how does all of this blend with your theology and your role as a youth and young adult pastor?
Wow, yeah, that's a great question. So once again, for those of you who don't know, yeah, I'm a youth and young adult pastor at Oceanside SDA Church in San Diego, and you know, I think I think in some ways, I'm in many ways I'm still trying to figure this out, to be honest, because all of this happened so fast. But I think my role as a pastor and as a follower of Jesus has, in some ways, shaped how I view content creation. Because here's the thing, right? Like, I believe that God has created me, right? The same way that God has created you, and God has created you and me in His image. But what does that mean, right? So to
Yeah.
be created in the image of God, at least to me, means that God has created uh, us with this capacity to love other people, because God is love, and that's so. If it's His image, then He's created us with the capacity to love other people as well. And so that really informs how I post any content, either on TikTok, Instagram, whether I'm preaching a sermon or whatnot. Because the question that I keep asking myself in my mind is how is this thing communicating to the receiver or to the watcher of the video, whatever it is, that they are loved by God? Like, how is this connecting to it? So that's the question that kind of informs everything that I say or do. And I guess that's maybe one way in which this whole thing blends together.
And I love this is so unique. It's a different way of just being yourself and sharing your story, and at the same time, through your story and who you are and your presence, somehow you have this ability to share your experiences with God and how God has had an influence in your life. So I have to say, I love that about your social media presence. But you know what? In a day when teens and adults alike love, and I have to say even crave attention and fame, what insights have you learned, or what lessons have you learned from the growing attention that you're getting? And the other thing is that we all try to get onto social media and crave the likes, right? So how do you deal with rejection and criticism?
Wow, that's a really, really good question. Okay, so I'm thinking about last year and my content, and maybe 6 or 7 of my videos went viral. The one video that uh, uh, went viral, the one video with the most views was, I think it's right now about 1.5 million views. And
Wow.
then there were some other videos that went crazy, and so uh, I whenever a video went viral, like I noticed that there was a shift in my thinking and a shift in my heart. And so I kind of took down some notes, and I want to share with you three things, just really fast, three things that has taught me about what it means to go viral, right? So number one is that going viral can be dangerous. It can be dangerous. It's kind of like having a ton of sugar all at once, because you see, every like, every follow, every sub is like it's like sugar, it's like serotonin, right? It's like a piece of candy. So when you go viral, it's like they're just feeding you a ton of candy and shoving them down your throat. And so I was like, man, I don't know what to do with all this stuff, right? So it can be dangerous. But the second
Okay.
thing that I want to say is going viral uh, can also, if you want to, if you allow yourself to, it can force you to look into your values and your priorities. So when I went viral, I had to ask myself some questions like, is this what I want to be known for? Does this content like reflect who I really am? Like, does this content reflect what I think about God, about Jesus? Questions like, will creating this type of content affect my other responsibilities? I'm a pastor, I'm a husband, I'm a Bible teacher at an elementary school. How is this going to affect all of that stuff? So going viral can has kind of forced me to reevaluate my values and priorities. But then I kept asking myself, okay, well, why am I still posting, right? Like, if going viral is dangerous, then why do you keep doing it? And here's why. And this is an answer, and everybody has to ask themselves this question. But this has kind of been my journey, right? Because for me, I've realized that attention is a gift. When someone chooses to like your post, when someone chooses to comment on you, they're giving you attention. Like all you guys, I'm looking at the chat right now. Everybody on the chat, like, you guys are giving attention, and that's awesome. You guys are boosting the algorithm, right? Like, that's a gift. You're giving us that gift. And uh, so I've even decided to even think about even the negative comments also as gifts. but not like good gifts, but maybe like fart bombs, right? Like bad gifts. But but still, every attention is a gift. So I prayerfully kept making content, knowing that I'm kind of co-creating with the Holy Spirit, co-creating with God, and if He wants to tell me to do something, let's figure this out. It's a teamwork, and I post stuff out there for to help other people. So that's kind of how I deal with that.
So, Pastor Kevin, you're telling us that there is a level of responsibility that comes with being a social media influencer. I follow a couple of social media influencers, and because I'm curious to see what they have to say, what their opinions are about certain things. But that gives you a platform to have your voice heard in a way that normally we don't have our voices heard. So how does being an influencer give you this platform or this opportunity to bring about change? Because when you've got almost 155 grand people interested in what you have to say, interested in what you're doing, and even in how you make chai, you have a platform. Now, how do you use that to bring about change and change for good?
Oh, that's a great question, Patty, Pastor Patty. Okay, so here's the thing, right? The moment you choose to follow Jesus, you get an assignment, you get a job. Okay, it's not when you follow Jesus, it's not like, okay, yes, I'm going to heaven right now. No, you get a responsibility, you get a task, right? And the task is this. It's a very fancy word. It's called the ministry of phrase, ministry of reconciliation. Okay, ministry of reconciliation. Put it in the chat if you know what that word means, reconciliation. Let me see who got it. I'm looking at the chat right now too. But this means reconciliation basically means that your primary job as a follower of Jesus is to bridge the gap between yourself and others through your life, through your story. And so here's the thing: you may not want to preach, you may not want to make chai, you may hate chai, you may hate coffee, you may not want to give a Bible study, you may not want to baptize somebody, right? But as a follower of Jesus, listen to me. This is important. You have something that's way more powerful that no one else does. And here's this thing: it's your story. It's your story. That's your superpower. And your story is the most powerful thing you have. And when you see how God has led you in your story, and that power is boosted. And so when it comes to having a platform, all of you have your platforms. The way that I've used mine is to lean into my story, to lean into the parts of my story where God is present and God is bigger, and and there are also other parts of the stories that's not pretty, right? And they're not very happy and stuff. But God is taking me on this journey right now to realize that even those valleys, even those rough patches, they're all part of this beautiful story that God has given you. And now I'm not saying this to say that if something as bad has happened to you, that was God's will. I'm not even saying that. Let's not even go there. But I'm just saying that God is able to take all the stuff that's happening in your life to make something beautiful. And so when you have a platform, let me make this really, really practical for you guys. If you want to grow on social media, if you want to be an influencer, by the way, I actually don't like that word. I don't even know, like when people say you're an influencer, but like for me, what that means is God has given me a responsibility to serve, right? And so that's how I do it. But if you want to do that, if you want to use your platform for change, here's the thing. Here's the blueprint. I don't know if you're ready for this, but it's super simple. But I don't know, but not a lot of people are going to do this. But here's what you're going to need to do. You first of all got to make content that is useful for at least one other person other than yourself. You got to make something that's useful. Okay. And your selfie is not useful. Okay. Your selfie is okay. Your selfie may be useful for your mom, but like, and your mom will love that. But you got to make it useful for some other person than your cat or your dog. And what is useful? It is the type of content that solves a problem. It's like obviously beneficial. Then, if you can find that, then if you put 2 to 3 pieces of content every week for the next 2 to 3 years, you heard me, 2 to 3 years, I promise you, you will grow. I promise you, you will grow. And
Awesome.
yeah, and also here's the thing: if you do this and show me that you have actually put out at least 2 pieces of content every week, I'm gonna up the stakes here, starting this coming week, and for the next 2 years. Okay, you need to show me receipts. I'll give you money.
Wow.
Yeah,
All
I will.
right. Are
All
you
you
guys
literally need to do is
listening to
email
this?
me, send me text, show me, Pastor Kevin, I've did it. Here's the receipts. Here's up my proof. 2 to 3 pieces of content every week for the last 2 years. I will give you cash.
Wow, that
I'll
is
help you in whatever you
commitment.
want. Yeah.
Pastor Kevin, one thing, I'm so grateful that you're sharing all of this with us, because our theme this week is influencers. I know that word can carry different definitions and everything, but the fact is that people understand what influencer means on social media, right? But what you've shared is so significant, the ways that you can make a real difference for other people and in their lives. I didn't mention, guys, that if you have a question for Pastor Kevin, you can post it on the chat, and we have some time. We'll maybe take one or two. But one of the things, Pastor Kevin, that I want to let you know that has really impacted me in my conversations with you and in following you on Instagram and on TikTok, I keep saying TikTok, TikTok, is that you share your story in a very honest and open way. You are an immigrant to this country.
Mm-hmm.
That speaks to so many people. You share how you came here and some of the struggles that you've been through. And I think we all can relate to stuff like that, because it's, again, going back to what you were saying, it's about sharing your story. We all have a story. No matter how young or old you are, you have a story to share. And the cool thing is how our stories intersect with how God works in all of that is an amazing story that people are willing to listen to. And so I think that has been so unique about your ministry on social media, and I really appreciate what you've done. All right, I'm looking at the chat to see if there are any questions. I see a comment that is really valid. There are some parents who are pretty strict with you guys on social media, on your use of social media.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I would say you want to make sure that you follow your parents' recommendations, but again, you go back to the general rule. What you post has to be useful, what Pastor Kevin was talking about.
Yeah, on that note,
I don't know if you have anything
quickly,
else to say.
the social media and the internet, they are all tools. So a lot of times, like for example, we are using the internet right now. We're using social media right now for what we're doing right now,
Yeah,
right? It's
absolutely.
a
Yeah.
tool, right? So either you can look at the whole thing and saying like, okay, this is all bad, this is of the world, this is of the devil, and like let's not even go there. Or you can say, hey, how can I use this to actually serve God? How can I use this to serve one another? How can I use this to share the
Right.
story that God has given us? But but let me be honest and upfront about it. Like there is a lot of trash out there, and for parents who are
Yeah.
listening, let me validate your concerns. There is a ton of trash out there. There is a lot of bad stuff out there. 100%, right? And so for those for the kids who are watching right now, as long as you're living it like well, as whether you're living with your parents or not, like your parents, your family, that's high priority. So if they say something, you gotta that's that you gotta listen to them. All right. So and the teachers as well. uh, and I have had to also reframe my understanding of what social media is, and so it's been really cool to see how God's been using it in through the things that I've been doing. I'm really humbled. But yeah, if at any point it comes at the cost of your health, if at any point it comes at the cost of your mental health and your spiritual health and your emotional health and your relational health, then just cut it off. And one thing that I didn't tell you, this whole month of January, I actually did not go on social media at all. I actually fasted from January 1 I'm still not on social media. I haven't gone on TikTok, I haven't gone on Instagram, none of that stuff. I just took a month-long fast because I wanted to hear what God has to say, right? So I'm going to go back though on February, but with a renewed perspective, right? So that's my journey, and
Yeah.
that'll be your journey as well.
That's awesome that you had the wisdom to know when it was time to take a break. So one last thing, Pastor Kevin, I saw in the chat, is that how did you come up with chai as your content?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. How many more minutes do we have, Pastor Patty?
I think we're close to the end. This
Okay,
is it. This
okay,
is
this is
it.
it.
And
Okay,
then
so how
and
did
then
I
we'll
come
say
up with
goodbye.
chai? Yeah, so let me share this, but also give you some principles as to what you can do too. So the reason I came up with chai is because I looked into, because of my culture, right? Because of my culture, I grew up with it, and so I made tea and I posted it on TikTok and it blew up. And so then I was just like, wait, why is it blowing up? And I started to realize people were really interested in this thing, right? It was useful content, so I decided to just keep making more chai content. And I'm obsessed with chai. Like if you ask me about anything about chai related stuff, I will tell you. I can speak for you for hours. And so for you, that may not be chai. For you, that may be coffee. For you, that may be Big Franks. Okay, you can talk. Maybe have a TikTok on Big Franks. It'll go viral. 100%. I'll tell you. People don't know what Big Franks is. Maybe what's it? Team Big Franks or Team Linkets? Put it in the chat. Let me know. Um, so for you, what you need to do if you are interested, you got to think about your story. Go back to your story. What are you interested in? What comes easy to you? Ask yourself this question: if someone gave you 1 hour to speak about something, and you had to do it without notes, without any preparation, what would you speak about? That will give you some ideas as to where you want to start with helping people, because your ordinary is somebody's extraordinary.
That is awesome. I love that. Your ordinary is someone else's extraordinary. I'm going to keep that. I have a list of favorite quotes, and I think that one is going to go onto my list. Pastor Kevin, thanks so much for spending this time with us and showing us the kind of awesome stuff that can happen when we discover a new way of sharing and reaching out on social media communities that makes a difference for good.
Yeah.
Hey, I really look forward to maybe one day getting together with you to share a cup of your chai. How about that?
Amazing. It's amazing. Amazing.
All right. You make me chai and I'll make you some tacos.
Let's go. Amazing. I'll take you up
All
on
right. Thank you so much, Pastor Kevin, for spending this time with us. Thank you guys for participating and listening. And I am so glad that you joined us. God bless, Pastor Kevin. Take care.
God bless you. Follow me, Cross Culture Christian, on all social media platforms. Let's go.
That's right. Cross Culture Christian. Follow him. Let's get you over to 155 grand, since you're so close to 155 grand followers.
Let's go. Let's go. Take care, God.
All right. Bye-bye.